Alright, so the John Deere won't start again. This is just after I decided not to do another video when I brought it back to fix the that going on in there. And miscellaneous other junk that was wrong with it. But full on clicky clacky. Oh! Never mind, it's still going. But looks like solenoid is getting crusty. Alright, so she's running now, but the starter is sticking closed and sticking on. I could not get it to do anything a minute ago, and I pulled the accelerator wire off, tried to jump it, but they've engineered these so that they don't want you to get a screwdriver on it, so I need alligator clips, so I couldn't look at it. But anywho, now it's starting, but it's definitely, the Bendix is staying out, so I think the solenoid is on the way out, so she probably needs a starter. So I think I might need to bring her back and get that done. Additionally, she just sounds like ass. Like, I hit it, but it sounds like it's nailing pretty hard. Like something's up with the timing. So I've got a tune-up kit that I need to throw in this thing, get new spark plugs, get a new air filter, and maybe run some carb cleaner through it. I think she's getting some ignition air fuel ratio discombobulation going on. So we'll see what we can do and whether or not something's funny is going on, because she's dieseling again, which is never good. And let me just break this. It was doing that the other day, which I thought was a blown head gasket, but then it stopped, so I think it was just running hyper rich. But yeah. There's something up. It's not getting enough air. Either that or it's getting overgassed. Something along those lines, but she needs a little bit more TLC. So I'm gonna go. Thankfully I can get her going so I can just drive her up on the trailer, but I gotta get the trailer and do that because the only thing I've got with me right now is yonder truck and a bunch of free dump gas. So I've got like 15 gallons of dump gas, so that's nice. All right, so we're back out here a couple days later with alligator clips and a trailer, and we're gonna see if this sucker just cranks right up or if it's gonna be problematic again. And hopefully it just cranks right up and I can drive it on the trailer. Probably just need to buy a starter, but we'll see if we can finagle it again. May just need to grease the solenoid, I don't know. Probably have to buy a starter, so that's probably what I'm gonna do. But without any further ado, will she at the very least click? Okay, so she's gonna go, so whatever it was a little funny, but we're gonna take it back to the shop and hammer on it anyway. Anywho, that's what always happens when you bring the alligator clips. The electrical gremlins disappear. Great, of course, always. Alright, so I've done nothing to this thing other than drag it home and kick it off the trailer, and it's fine now, so I don't found electrons. Always something. Well, if nothing else, we're gonna change the oil and do a tune-up. Send her on back. Alrighty, fresh new filter, fresh new oil, fresh new spark plugs, and a fresh new fuel filter. Ready to go back into the waste. And return to the void she is. Alright, so we're back out to the John Deere. The same people have told me again that it's not starting. There's a lightning storm that is nearly upon me. And we have a spare ignition switch in my front pocket, but I'm not gonna have a chance to do that today. God, you gotta love getting stuck on the interstate and losing 45 minutes out of your day that was already slammed to begin with, but I'm told it doesn't start. And I'll believe that. It appears that the battery's dead though, and it's not the ignition switch. So anyway, would love to put a multimeter on that, but I can't say for certain. So yeah, we're gonna have to figure this out on another day. The no start issue has returned. Man, contractors just throw out the best stuff. This thing's not even missing any carbide teeth. Not even chipped. Free Diablo blade. Well, this is a regular old frog strangler here. Good Lord. Missed the worst of it. Alright, so the voltmeter says that the battery is 12.54, so that's good. And I have the exciter wire off, and I've got this black lead hooked up directly to that. So with any luck, this should crank the mower, and if not, the starter is gone. that's a no. Well, we're trailering this bad boy. All right, so she's back at the shop. How much you want to bet it just cranks now that it's been trailered? No, it's actually gone this time. So, I'm fairly confident that the starter is just toasted. I banged on the solenoid with a hammer and nothing happened. Either the solenoid has now failed or this ground strap right there has corroded away again, because I have already repaired that once before. I've rebuilt this starter once before, as shown in a prior episode, and I think that ground strap has just corroded itself away again. An easy way to test that is to just grab a screwdriver and I'm just gonna poke it. Well, no, that wire's still there. So last time I poked this and the whole thing just fell off. So it appears that now the solenoid itself has actually failed, because, you know, I gave straight 12 volts right off the battery to that exciter wire and the solenoid didn't even click. It just made my wire really hot, which usually ain't a good sign for a motor. So feels like that thing's pulling a lot of amps and not doing a whole lot of work. So what we're gonna have to do is disconnect that red cable, that black cable, and that blue cable for the exciter wire. Pull those two 10 mils out and we should just be able to slide the whole starter right off, the lickety split, and bench test this thing and just see if this solenoid is absolutely kaput. If it is, I might just be able to buy a new solenoid for cheap, and if not, we're gonna be picking up one of them right there. So let me get testing this thing. All right, so starter's out. I lied, they were 12 millimeters. So yeah, and they're not 13s, not halves, they're 12 millimeters proper. So that guy's out. This guy's a 1/2 inch. 12 might work. Nope, no, it's a 1/2 inch, of course. So that's a 1/2 inch and that's a 12 millimeter. I digress. But anyway, she's out. I don't see anything hanky going on. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to clean up this bolt real quick. Just, you know, hit it with a flap disc or something, just so I have a bare metal spot. And I'm going to hook a positive end of the battery up to this, and with a jumper cable, and I'm going to take another jumper cable and just tap it to this clear spot over here on the body. And if I do that, the motor should spin up. If it does, then we know that this solenoid failed. If it doesn't, then we know that this entire motor assembly has failed. Either or, something's getting done to this starter. So we shall see. Let me go get my jumper cables and rubber gloves. All right, so I've got positive end attached to the positive terminal and making sure I am not touching the housing as far as I know, or we're going to be doing some welding here. And I've got the black one just attached to the housing, red on red. Let's just touch black and see if we get spinach. Yep. Whoop. Yep. So the starter motor works just fine. The solenoid is kaput. All right, so to bench test the solenoid, we're doing the same thing we were doing when it was in the tractor. I've got positive hooked up to the exciter wire, and I've got black grounded. And when I make the ground, we have sparks, but absolutely nothing out of the solenoid. So the solenoid is kaput, like not even trying. So there's probably a short somewhere in the actual coil of that wire, and it's probably just shooting right through it, which is why we're seeing such a current draw. Alrighty, with that said, I'm going to check to see if I can just buy another solenoid. If I can, you know, pick one up for like 20 or 30 bucks, I'm going to do that. And if not, I'm going to pick up a brand new starter for like 80 bucks. So it's a work mower, so it's not my money. So I'm happy to spend it if I've gotta. But if I can pick up a solenoid and, you know, save on it, I might as well. Actually, honestly, this might actually be the same starter that's in the John Deere. So, well, it very well may be the same starter and solenoid setup that I have here in my 98 Gator. And if it is, then it's probably in my best interest to just buy myself a new solenoid and keep that for me as a personal backup starter for this pig, and you know, just buy a new starter for work. So anyway, I'll go look into it and see how much it is. Alrighty, Amazon special starter is in. It seems to look identical to me, so we're gonna huck it in there and see whether or not all the magic smoke comes out, or if the mower turns over. It's gonna be one of the two. Alright, new starter is in. Didn't take but 5 minutes. Let's see whether or not we've got magic smoke or not. I'm hoping no. Ooh, that starts real good, actually. What is so wrong with having a regular choke? Sounds like the air filter's clogged already. Well, the starter sounds really good, which is what I would expect for a brand new starter. So, great. Previously, it was a little bit on the lethargic side, so she seems to be going just fine now. Wonderful. And yeah, it looks like this air filter's practically clogged up already. Good Lord. It would be nice if Kawasaki could design a better non-heavy duty air filter that doesn't just collect all of the sand like a HEPA filter. You know, it's supposed to keep sand out of the engine, not take the sand out of the yard and keep it there. But anyway, I digress. Let me clean that before I can trailer this thing back. All right, trailer's all set up. Let's load this bad boy up and hucker back out at the job site. I don't think it's supposed to sound like that. Fine at low idle, but at high idle. Well, now she's all right. Alrighty, so here's a quick and greasy one for you. This here is a John Deere GT245, which says somewhere on this thing. There you go. And don't mind the engine stuff. What I'm going to be showing you today is how to bypass the interlock for the reverse mower blade kill switch. So basically, if you have your blades engaged and you hit reverse, there's a switch on the back of this mower that either shuts off the blades or kills the engine. I can't remember what it does in this specific model, but it's very annoying because sometimes you want to mow backwards. And if you're out here in the middle of a field where there aren't just like random babies crawling around or whatever the heck this is a feature on these things, sometimes you just want to mow backwards. And it's a pretty simple system to bypass. It is at the back of the mower, this little switch, this guy right here. So that is just a little momentary switch. So this guy is just a little momentary switch. And when you hit reverse, it depresses. And when it depresses, it breaks the circuit, which goes through this wire down there, all the way up here to this plug. Now, if you want to bypass that switch, all you got to do is unplug this wire and just bridge a connection in between both sides of that cable, because it's just two wires in there inside of that harness. So if you do that, it'll completely disable that switch. Now, let me show you how it works. It's this lever right here, which is attached to a linkage on the side of the transmission that moves back and forth depending on what position the hydrostatic transmission is in. So right now I've got it kind of in a neutral position. So if I press down on the accelerator, as you can see back in here, plenty of room between this lever up here and this button. Now, if I put my foot on the reverse pedal, see, it comes on in and it presses that button. And so that's what causes the kill switch to engage. Now, for whatever reason right now, this sucker is sticking like that. And this mower is used by our volunteers. So they come out here and they'll reverse this thing and the kill switch will engage and they won't be able to engage the blades again. And they'll try and go forward and it won't do anything. And they'll just give up and quit and go home and won't finish cutting the grass. When in actuality, all you need to do is just slam the thing in reverse and then forward real quick. And usually that fixes it. Because sometimes it just gets a little sticky and doesn't come all the way back up. So if you just ease off of it, you get stuck a little bit part way. At least that's what's going on with this, because every time they've had that issue, I've just come out here and just slam the thing in reverse and then slam the thing in forward and it's worked fine after that. But they're not so good at the troubleshooting thing. But anyway, I'm just going to bypass it and show you how to do that. And it's, like I said, pretty simple. So you get this little clip right here, which is holding the wire loom to the side of the frame. All you have to do is just pop that sucker off, which is easier said than done when they put it on backwards. All right, that ended up being a bit of an ordeal on account of the fact that John Deere put that clip on backwards. But so the way you take it off is you just take a screwdriver and you stick it between those two things and do a little bit of that, and she's off. That allows you to pull the wire out and gives you better access, but you don't necessarily have to do that because this female connector on here is, or male connector I should say on here is just on there with just friction. You can just pull it right off like that. Mine was corroded, so I had to pry it off with a screwdriver. But there you go. So this is the wire that runs over there to the actual sensor. And that's the thing you got to bridge right there, the engine side of the harness. So all you got to do is just get a little piece of like 14 gauge wire and just bend it in a loop and just jam it in either side of that, and then wrap the thing in electrical tape and wrap this sucker up in electrical tape as well, just so it doesn't get too super corroded, and just tape it onto the side of that, and should have the whole thing bridged. So let me do that real quick. Alrighty, so there's my little jumper wire. This is just split off of a, I don't know, about a 2.5 inch piece of 16 gauge wire, and we're just going to jam that in either side of this plug, simple as. And then I'm going to stick this into the harness through the inside of this jumper just to hold it in place, and I'm going to tape the whole thing shut just to keep water out. Alrighty, so there is that jumped and bridged, and I stuck this down here on the bottom because this thing has split contacts, so there's actually not a piece of metal right here in the middle on the outside of these contactors, so it's kind of split down the side, so there's bits of metal on the top and the bottom. So I just aimed it down here in the bottom so that it's wedged in between two pieces of metal. Otherwise, it'd be fine, but you probably need to use 14 or 12 gauge to take up the rest of the slop. So I am just going to tape this solid, and then wrap some tape around the top of this and around here, and just tape that off like that, just so they're up here out of the way, and we should be good as gold there. Alrighty, so that is all jumped, wrapped up, and tied together. Let me finish doing a compression test on this thing real quick, and let's fire it up and see whether or not we've bypassed the reverse interlock, or if I have to cut all that apart and do it again. Alrighty, so the John Deere's been running rough recently. It feels like the timing's a little bit off, and it's like kind of nailing and inconsistent. And it's one of three things. Either the ignition coils are starting to go, and they're not quite firing at the right time, and so I'm getting inconsistent ignition. However, that could also be caused by inconsistent air-fuel ratio or a poor air-fuel ratio. So it could just be that the carburetor needs getting cleaned, which I would rather not do. But it could also be poor compression on one cylinder. I remember this engine had one cylinder that was a little bit sad. So for today, the first thing I'm going to try and do is a compression test, because I've got the kit. It's the easiest thing for me to do. It's much quicker to run a compression test than it is to rebuild a carburetor or replace an ignition coil. So I will see if the compression is good, and if that's good, then I will move on to I guess the carburetor, and if it's not the carburetor, then I will pop the cowl and get in there and replace the ignition coil. So without any further ado, let me pop some plugs and see what we have for compression in this thing now. All right, well, I'm in here and I found two interesting things. One, this vent down here for the carburetor is unplugged, so I'm trying to pull out enough line to plug that guy back in now. And two, there's a dead mouse, like jammed on top of the head over here, because that's fur. So that's interesting. Yeah. Well, huh. And there's mold growing on the fuel pump. Weird. Anyway, probably ghosts. But I'm gonna try and get this this sucker hooked back up. Yeah. Anyway, while I was in here pulling bits of mice out of the engine, I was also trying to figure out if there was a high RPM adjustment on this thing, because I was going to lean it out a bit, because based on the brand new spark plugs I put in there just a month or so ago, we're definitely running a bit rich. It is a lawnmower, but still, the air filter is still fairly clean for this thing. But yeah, there is apparently this is a Nicky 16060 7001. There is no high RPM adjustment. I just have a drain for the petcock and a idle stop up here. So I can't change the idle mixture and I can't change the high RPM mixture. I can just change the bottom throttle RPM, the idle RPM. So yeah, nothing I can do on there. We're running rich, so I assume that's probably not a dirty carb then, because generally a dirty carb makes you run lean. Yeah, I mean, there's not really anything else in here that could be allowing this to pull more fuel other than an air restriction that is just screwing with the air to fuel ratio. And clearly don't have a fuel restriction unless the choke is hanging closed. And it looks like the choke is actually hanging closed. Interesting. Interdasting indeed. Oh, so that's it. The choke is sticking. And I don't have enough distance in the actual handle itself to take out the rest of that slack, so I might actually need to adjust the choke. Okay, well, good thing I was checking on this thing. Now, that's probably on account of the fact that all this shit got fucking burnt as hell, so it's probably rusty in there. And I don't know when it got burnt as hell, but it probably had something to do with the dead mouse and clogged air filters. And oh, look at that. A nice pus caterpillar climbing up inside of my wiring. Cool. All right, little bud. Come on up here. Come on up here. Come on. I know you can do it. Thank you. Yeah, these I think this is a white-marked tussock moth caterpillar. They have urticating hairs, and it's like fiberglass, covered in hot sauce. Don't want to touch those things. Anywho, so it looks like I need to figure out how to adjust the choke throw on this thing, because I don't even know if I can. Because that's just a spring and a cable, I guess. Yeah, and that bottom's out there. I guess all I can really do is adjust it down here by moving this further in and out, which that might be a pain to get to. So I'm going to try and do that and see if I can give this thing a little bit more length on there, and that might fix the rough running. Still going to do the compression test too while I'm in here as well, but good thing I checked. All right, so that's been adjusted. So we now have full throw on the choke, and couldn't get this thing off with the Phillips, and I couldn't get the 8mm on it, so I just went and got a breaker bar and a 3-pound hammer, and bent this cover down so that I could get the 8mm on here unobstructed, since this thing is rusted to all piss, and that worked perfectly. So rather than taking this guard off, you can just beat the thing with a hammer, and that'll get you close enough, and I'll pry this thing back up a little bit. Yeah, doesn't matter. Just pot metal anyway. So yeah, so now the choke is all the way open. So that was probably a big part of the problem. And when I pull the choke all the way closed, it goes all the way closed and it comes all the way back out. It's a good deal. All right, good thing I looked. All right, so I'm gonna do the compression test, but hopefully that was the source of the problem. All right, compression testers hooked up. I seem to recall this thing only making like 60 something PSI. So let's get her cranking. All right, so she's topped out there, and 100 PSI, that's perfect. So let's try the other side. And now for the port side. Looks like, yeah, right on 100. All right, so we're perfectly even, and we have all the pressure in the world that we need. I think that's better than the last time I did this. So we're good to go on compression, which means it was either the choke, which I'm fairly confident was the problem at this point, or it's ignition. So I guess let's get this crap out of here and put some spark plugs in, dig some mouse pieces out, and see if she runs much better now. Here, mousey, mousey, mousey. Ooh, God. Well, it's not a whole mouse, apparently. Just, no, there's teeth, I think. Oh, that's a hand. Ugh. How a whole mouse managed to get into this space, the world may never know, but no wonder that side was overheating. Oh, there's the rest of the mouse. Good Lord, how long was this mouse? Oh, hey, me talking about this having rough ignition. Maybe I was not imagining that. That'll do it. That'll do it right there. Okay. Well, looks like, oh yeah, and he's chewing over here too, little son of a bitch. What is that? Oh, that's just for the solenoid. So, okay, so that ignition coil was spared, but, you know, that high voltage wire, may or may not be almost entirely chewed through next to a a grounded piece of metal. So yeah, that would probably be why it has inconsistent voltage. That could do it. That could do it. Well, I guess I will put some electrical tape on that while I'm in here and clean all this stuff up. And yeah. Oofta. Meath. Oh, Is that the kill switch? What in the world is that wire? Well, that one's still good. Where does that sucker go? Goes in the main loom, goes here to, what is that, a regulator? Huh. Well, looks like I'm picking up a new set of coils. Well, I've cleaned most of the dirt and mouse bits out of there, so at the very least it shouldn't overheat anymore, but yep. We need a new set of coils. Fantastic. Well, I'll get those ordered, and very least she should run much better. I don't know if there's anything I can do about this in the meantime, because that just rusted off, and I don't got any solder on me, so I don't really know what to do with that. I'm hoping that's just the kill switch, and that's possibly why the thing has dieseled on me a bunch, is the fact that only one cylinder is actually being killed. So yeah, interesting. But anyway, let's get the parts cannon loaded up and continue this saga. All right, well, that's all back together. Let's see if she runs any better, and if the PTO reverse interlock is in fact disengaged. Hold on, choke time. All right, so long story short, that vent tube is clogged and almost killed the battery, so I've just got it running now to top it off. I'm gonna put the air filter back on, but the vent tube is clogged, so I plugged it back in and then I couldn't get any fuel and I had to start it with the can until I realized. But anyway, nothing today is going right. I've already stripped 2 sockets on this fucking pig. All right, so I undid the interlock on account of the fact that I messed with an interlock and then the engine wouldn't start. And after I figured out it was the vent, I have redone the interlock. So take 2. Let's see if this pig starts and if this interlock bypass works. All right, are we getting power to the clutch? No, we're not. Oh, well, maybe that's why they didn't have the damn thing working. God damn volunteers. Anywho, so this little jobber guy came undone, and she's not latching back. She must be jammed full of crud. Well, no, she's not jammed full of crud. Anyway, I'm going to jam this back together and tape this back up, and then we'll see if the bypass doesn't work. Good God, I am cursed today. All right, so I didn't have a zip tie, so I have just wrapped the rest of that wire I used for the bypass around it. And take 3, I guess. Good gravy. All right, we are done, finally. Holy heck, it is 6:15, and I was going to call it early today. God Lord, nothing ever goes right around these parts. But anyway, we have bypassed the interlock, and we have rectified the running rich issue, as well as identified the inconsistent ignition. So, as well as the reason why this thing has been dieseling so much. So, we can finally order up some parts and move on to fixing the ignition. I would like to call this video here, but I can't because I got to do that now. Oh God. And I have stripped off 2 5/8 and almost stripped out a 16mm and almost rounded out an adjustable wrench, and I still don't have 2 of these deck bolts off because someone else pulled the blades off and sharpened them and then put them back on, and then put them on with way too much torque. Oh Lord, my fortune for a impact rated 5/8 right now. So I'm going to run all over hell and black after hours, after all the hardware stores have closed, and I think I might have a Chinesium 5/8 3/8 ratchet in my office. So I'm going to go pull that sucker out and hopefully get the rest of these blades done on this Husqvarna so that I can go home. Oh, and I still gotta get gas too, Jesus. All right, ignition coils just came in, so the Deere's getting loaded up, and we're gonna undo some mouse damage and hopefully have a much more smooth running lawnmower when we're done. All right, so we are just full up with junk here at the house right now, but the John Deere is back, and I need to put air in this tire. And other than that, we have our coils in. I still need the replacement blade bolts for that thing. Of course, they don't show up early. But I got the ignition coils, so we're gonna have to pull all this junk off of here again, get the cowl out the way, get on in there, and I'm hoping it should just be a matter of 2 bolts, plug, and the spark plug boot, and they're in and out once we get everything else out of the way. Famous last words. I'm hoping it's just the old business card in between the flywheel and the ignition coil, and you're good to go. So we'll get that done here tonight once I get some food in me. All right, so I just finished up some mundane stuff, like getting that pig under the trailer and bolts replaced. And now I'm just going through the other mundane stuff, putting air in flat tires. Well, not this one. This one. Fixing the cowl. And we're gonna be throwing ignition coils on there. These suckers. Alrighty, so let's get into this ignition coil. First things first, unplug your spark plugs. Take off your air cleaner. Now it's a good time to clean your air filter if you haven't. 3 bolts up here holding on the grill for the air intake for the cold air. Ow, like a cheese grater. Don't lose your fancy washer. Then 4 more 10 mils. This one has a clip holding on the fuel line, so just pull that out of the way first. This one is holding on the throttle and choke cable. Let's get that out the way. This one holds on the oil fill and oil cap, so do not yank on that once you take that bolt out or you will spill oil everywhere. And this one is holding on the wiring harness, and you don't have to unclip that one, it'll just pretty much stay in place. All right, now remove your cowl, just come straight off, and here's the coils. So 10 mils on either side, and these are the kill switch wires, so don't break them off, just be able to pull them off like that. This one I've got to extract, probably have to put a new cap on the end of that, and then that's pretty much it. Spark plug wires come up and out, and all you have to do is take the old ones off, put the new ones on, and just make sure you set the gap correctly. This one seems to be gapped at. All right, so if you look here, we have a bit of a self-clearancing going on there. We have absolutely no gap between the ignition coil and the stator, so we are going to fix that with a business card, because right now it's they're self-clearancing on there from the rust. You're not supposed to hear scraping, so probably a good thing we're doing this. All right, new ignition coils are in. There's our gap right where you want it, just far enough away. It's not going to touch anything. I had to replace my zip ties on these just because the kill switch plug was on the wrong side, so I had to shift everything over an inch. And put the spark plugs back on, throw the cowl back on, and the air cleaner, slap the hood on. That should be it. All right, that's all back together. Let's push her outside. I said push her outside, see if it works. All right, the rain's starting as is tradition, and of course this is a spring-loaded choke. All right, so she's back in the garage, and something is doing something very wrong. So you see this wire that I wire tied? It's supposed to be here, and it's over there. I think the entire clutch body is spinning. I think it has detached itself from the frame, and it probably just snapped one of these wires. Fun. All right, so as suspected, here's the problem. Yeah, I ain't supposed to do that. It's supposed to kind of just sit here and do that. But it ain't doing that. So we're gonna have to figure out how to fix that. All right, so thankfully it appears that this butt connector pulled itself out of the harness, and so that is why the clutch didn't work, which is a good thing because that broke the connection before the wires snapped in half like spaghetti. So yeah, I'll have to try and plug that back in, and we will get in here with a big mallet or something, because this is just literally welded to the frame, and we're going to have to bend that tab back up and bend this tab back up around this thing right here, which also needs to be bent. Wunderbar. Well, as I always say, when you have to resort to blacksmithing to fix your lawnmower, shit has gotten real. So I tried, oh wow, that is it's almost like I just put like 5,000 BTUs into that anvil. So the little tabs on the clutch, one side is broken off. Now, normally you would just be able to replace this part, but it's like a $350 part that I need to replace a $1 stamping on, which is press fit onto the mower, which is press fit onto the clutch. So anyway, we're not doing that. So I'm trying to hack together a fix to create a new little nubbins coming off of the frame, because the nubbins is welded to the frame, that will engage with what remains of the actual tabs on the clutch that keep the clutch engaged. So I have taken this paint roller here and I have flattened out one side into the shape I need, because I did not have the appropriate metal stock lying around. And we are going to take this tab right here and we're going to bend, and I'm going to do this without touching it, hopefully. We're going to bend this right about here, that way, so that we have a little flat piece that comes out, dog legs over about 1/4 of an inch, and then comes right back down. And so that will mount directly, let me just show you. Greasy. So this whole flat thing, I'm going to mount with self-tappers to this guy right here, with just enough so that it sticks through and cuts this belt. But it'll basically run in this channel right here, come down, bend down just a skosh, and then come through this little nub right here, which is normally, there's normally supposed to be a little dingus that comes out of here, that sits in here, that this guy goes back and forth on. So I'm basically, because I snapped this off because it was completely folded over, I tried to bend it back, it got about 45 degrees and then snapped off. So I can no longer utilize anything above this to keep it engaged. So I need to use this actual magnet right here, just basically come down as tight into this channel as I possibly can and have something that I can bolt onto this. Now, if I could just weld, I would just lay a piece of bar stock right here, wire wheel this, and just weld that on there and be done with it. But I can't weld because I don't have the power outlet on this garage, or a welder, or the skills. So we will have a little piece of metal come down in here, bend over just a little bit, and stick down here and stick out just about this far. And so that will sit in here and keep this from moving back and forth. And so long as that doesn't shear off, we'll be good to go. All right, well, things went south very, very fast, very quickly. And this is currently what we've got going on, and it works for right now, and I have a feeling it will work for about 15 minutes before it breaks. Plan was to have 2 of these in here, but then we snapped a drill bit off inside of the hole when it was halfway drilled, flush with the thing, so there's zero way to get that out. I just didn't feel like drilling another hole, and I am on my last impact rated Phillips head bit, after shearing 2 other ones off, trying to drive one of these self-tappers in. So currently we have one self-tapper run all the way through everything. Thankfully the belt doesn't run on the back of that. And it is holding this slab of metal I had to blacksmith into this shape in between these nubs, which is keeping the clutch from turning in either direction, which is allowing it to do, you know, clutch-based things. Supposed to be that bad. So that is on there, and then these 2 metal zip ties are just keeping it in place since I can't have a second bolt. And yeah, so we're just gonna hook this back up, test drive it, and see whether or not this grenades. And if it does, then we know that the clutch failed. And if the clutch failed, that would suck. All right. Once more, same as Alrighty, well, this video turned into a, what do you want to call it? saga, an escapade, a complete fustercluck. But I think we're finally done. The lawnmower runs and it cuts grass and the cowl is put back together and there's air in this tire. I think it's ready to go back. So I'm going to call this video here. Lord, how many things have I done in this when really all it was intended to be was just me replacing a starter? And here we are, several months and many other issues solved later. But mower is back together. As far as I'm aware, in I'm not going to say full working order, but it is in order, and it is full of stuff. So yeah, we're gonna call it there. If this video helped, consider giving the video a like, comment. Tell me if you've got a better solution other than buying a stick welder and actually just welding that little nub on there to get the clutch back together, because I know that thing's going to fail. Probably in like the next time anyone cuts grass with this thing, or it'll never break. It's one of the two, and we don't know until we roll the dice. And yeah, if you want to see the rest of this saga of lawnmower redneck engineering, you gotta subscribe, so smash that gray button down there. Until next time, I'm out.